Alright, so my name is Levi, aka KRVNK, which is my producer's name. And right here I have a cool project of mine that I recently finished, which is a pretty interesting track, and I'm gonna run you through it. So let's start from the beginning. BPM for a hardstyle track, which is this genre, is always around 140 to 160. Mostly it's 150, which is a bit in the middle of it. Older hardstyle tracks are always 140, 145, but newer raw style tracks are always more on the 160 BPM style, which is a little bit more on the hardcore side. I created mine on the classic 150, just because I find it to be a good middle ground between the softer style and the more rough 160 or even above that genres. The first interesting thing you see is actually the kick. I'll let you hear the kick solo for a while. So what you hear there is actually a switch up, which happens around here. At this point, I even have a vocal guy that says switch. If you can hear it. Where is it? Right there. Switch. The kick is actually a bit different than the normal kicks you know in hardstyle. The hardstyle kicks are always a little bit more distorted. I can show you a sample. Yeah, this is just a ripped audio-free kick. And those are two kicks. They're also really distorted sounds, really punchy, and a lot of mids and highs, and which are characteristics, that you usually don't see in normal kicks in the house or dubstep and bass music in general. But what I did here was something, it's a new concept, which Audiofreak started with his track Audio Me, which was, you know, that melody that you just heard, and in that track you hear this kick, which is actually a pretty interesting kick, because it's not really that distorted as a normal hardstyle kick, and it's actually a reverse bass. And what a reverse bass is a kick that is on the offbeat, which results in things like this. As you can see, it's here on the offbeat. Put this one down. And that creates a really funky type feel on your drops. And what he did was he stretched the sample of the reverse bass and make it longer, and just made a plain kick out of it with a little bit just more distortion. And I tried something like that, and he called it a techie kick, which is actually perfectly representative of, you know, how you could call it, and you can get something like this. And what I did here was just add a punch to it, even sidechain the bass. And what sidechaining does is it ducks the sound so that you can hear other instruments more loud. And I actually sidechained the bass, which is something that doesn't always happen, but I did it because, as you can see here, there are still frequencies while the punch is happening, which are these two. And so I sidechained it a bit so it just comes up real smooth and gives it a real drive. You know, these kicks are also a little bit more different than the rest. I can show you that these are the effects I run on it, which are just an EQ, just mids, highs, lows, a tiny bit of reverb to give it more space, another EQ, which I actually do the same thing as here, but just you know, cut out the wrong sample frequencies. And then here I just started looking at the spectrum, and I saw that it lacked a little bit more on the high side, so I gave it more highs and also a little bit more lows, which are over here, so I added those. A tape stop for the cool effect, which you can hear later in the track. A multi-band compressor for just compression. A kickstart again for the sidechaining effect. And a compressor, which is the sidechain. What this does, it creates this real pumpy, low-end feel kick. This is how the melody sounds. I actually bounced it out to audio, which is a technique that saves a lot of CPU. What bouncing to audio actually means is you have a MIDI output, which is just basically you playing on your keyboard or just a pattern like this. It comes up. This is MIDI, which we have the notes here, the piano roll, and this is the bass line. And you then record it to a audio to save CPU. So that's basically the melody, and the same kind of sidechaining that goes around here with the kick also goes around with the melody, so you can hear these drums a little bit better. There's a dubstep feel, just gives it that groove, that feel of, oh right, this is funky, this is cool. It's not just plain 4x4 beats that you always hear in most hardstyle tracks. And I know Radical Redemption really loves to use these drum samples and just cut them up, slice them up. I didn't really do that. I just created my own bass line, my drum line, you could call it. And this is what it sounds without the ducking. You don't really hear the drums that well now with the ducking. It sounds really cool, and yeah, also have a lot of bass sounds over here, which are pretty much dubstep sounds, growls, harmonic risers, and all that cool stuff. In my opinion, it sounds really cool. So. The kick is actually a ghost kick, which means that it will be run to the master, but you won't hear it. And that's actually a pretty cool idea, because if you can put a P controller on it, that means it will acknowledge the signals it puts out, but you won't actually hear them. And the things you can do with that are just amazing, and I use it for sidechain, because if you then compress a sound to make it duck while the signal is happening, but without the signal actually coming out of the speakers, that's actually a pretty interesting idea that I love to use, because it gives you so much freedom around your track. So yeah, that was the project. That was an in-depth look at how I made everything, how it works, and just some tips for the beginners throughout the process. I hope you learned a lot from this. I hope you'll start making music yourself, because it's just a really nice hobby to do it. You can put up so much emotion into your tracks, and yeah, just keep on rocking, I would say, and I'll see you next time maybe. Peace.